Hi there. In today's video, I'm going to talk about some common questions that students face when it comes to getting letters of recommendations. In fact, in the next video, I'm also going to talk about how to draft an amazing letter of recommendation, something that can really leave a positive impression on the admissions committee. My name is Anand Venkatesan. I'm the founder and mentor of this platform called mentorscapital.com. We completely believe in the power of mentorship, and by connecting students with mentors across the globe in varied disciplines and coming from different backgrounds, we hopefully can solve all student problems and help you get success in your aspirations. All right, let's get started. I think one of the first questions that students face when it comes to getting or soliciting letters of recommendation is really whom to ask, right? Should we prefer a college professor? Should we prefer somebody who's handled an academic project? Or on the other hand, should it be somebody who I have interned under, or maybe even worked, or maybe even an NGO that I worked with, right? So these are questions that we typically ponder. And I think the straightforward answer to this question is, well, it all depends on the university and the degree type that you're applying for. Most universities typically require 1 to 3 recommendation letters, and they usually also prescribe, the breakup between academic and professional. If that's not the case, I would really recommend that you consider two things. Number one, what is the type of degree that you're applying for? Are you applying for a program that includes a thesis and hence is more research based? In which case you should prefer more academic references, maybe contacting the dean of your department or somebody else whom you've worked under, done research under. On the other hand, if you're applying for a professional program or a master's program that includes project work, something like a master's in management or a master's in marketing, then the requirement of the university or the program will be to get you accredited in a professional standpoint. So maybe getting a letter of recommendation or two from people you have interned with, or maybe even done live projects with would be more valuable, right? So I guess it depends at one end on the kind of program you're applying for. And it turns out that most students end up doing both, right? Most programs end up having a compulsory project component, and also, I think it's a common it's a common activity today to pursue an internship during semester breaks. Well, if that's the case, I think you also need to decide where is it that you create the greatest value, right? Which activity of yours will showcase greater qualities that you possess, right? So maybe the outcomes and the results of the project that you prepared, were better off as opposed to the internship. Well, in cases, at times we find that internships can tend to be very, very procedural, very, very transactional in nature, and could also be one-dimensional, right? In terms of maybe calling up customers and getting feedback from them, or maybe having sales targets and trying to meet them. So try and sort of make sure that whoever you're choosing as a recommender comes from a field that highlights your best qualities, right? So at one end, depends on the program that you're applying for and what its requirements are, and at the other end, it depends on you, and it depends on your experiences and your skill sets. Well, how about choosing a recommender? Well, when it comes to deciding who should recommend, right? Whom should you solicit a recommendation or evaluation from? Most people also face this question of, should I go to the big boss? Should I contact my college principal or dean of the department, or should I go in for a specific professor who taught me, right? Or in an internship, you could think about, should I get an internship from the manager that I reported to, or should I take a reference from the director or the CEO of the company that I work for, right? And again, I think here the clear sort of instruction is that you need to get a recommendation from somebody who has a close sphere of influence upon you, right? Which means that You should have ideally, they should have ideally interacted with you enough to have assessed you, evaluated you, and given you feedback, and also seen the effect of that feedback, right? And so, well, even though it does matter whether the CEO of the company is giving you a recommendation, is giving you praise and appreciation, but the value of that appreciation is greater if the person recommending interacts with you at least once a week. Yeah. So that's a question you need to ask yourself. Is it better to go for, a very, very high position, or should I go for somebody who's observed me closely, who's likely to have seen my style of working and measured my attributes, right? So those are parameters to consider. Finally, I think this is also a problem that many of us face in terms of how to ask for a letter of recommendation. Now, most of us sort of directly reach out to, the professor or the manager that we are seeking a recommendation from. But I think it's also important to manage that communication very, very well, because merely asking or merely stating that, hey, I am applying to XYZ university and seek a recommendation from you might not suffice, right? You need to clarify a few things when you seek, a recommendation. I think the first, probably the most important aspect of this process is to clarify that you seek a strong letter of recommendation, because many a time it so happens that, there are plenty of trainees that, the recommender might be overseeing. And so there might be very little incentive for him or her, to praise you in glowing terms, to showcase, you as somebody who stands out from the crowd. But that's exactly what you would require, right? So instead of, getting an average, statement of recommendation from a person, it's actually better to solicit it from somebody else who might be willing to give you a strong recommendation. So I think that's very, very important. Obviously, at the point of seeking, their help, you need to contact them early. You need to give them time, because they need to have their calendars free. You need to mention which program and university you're applying for, and maybe maybe clarifying the pedigree of the program could really, make your point about why you need the recommendation to be strong. And finally, make sure that you reach out to a large enough group of people, right? Instead of contacting one professor, maybe contact three, and make sure that at the end of the day, you've contacted more people than you actually require, right? And above all, I think at the point when you get back a positive response, make sure that you have a draft ready. Make sure that, even if the person says that, well, I'm going to manage the recommendation myself, I think it's always a smarter idea to quickly sort of drop them an email detailing a draft, and by no means asking them to stick to the points that you wrote, but at least jogging up their memory, right? Reminding them about, the tasks that you performed, the results that you achieved, and maybe making a case for them mentioning it in the actual letter, right? So those are ideas that you should definitely keep in mind very, very early on when you're contacting the recommender, right? And I think the final piece of advice is, when you prepare a draft for a letter of recommendation, make sure that it includes the following, right? It must include the name of your degree and the university, right? Although in most cases, I would ask the recommender, I mean, you should request the recommender to keep it unnamed, because if he or she is, being your recommender for 5 or 7 universities, you don't want them to be mixed up. You don't want him to send one draft to the other. So it's basically better to just name the program and not the university. The program name can be generic and hence could work out, right? Make sure that you tell them the date by which the recommendation is due, so that they have a clear idea of, the timelines and when they need to complete. Also clarify the kind of relationship you've shared with them, right? When did you first, engage with them? What courses he or she teach you? What projects did you do under them? How long these projects lasted? How often you interacted? How big a team was it that your interaction happened in? And so on and so forth. And finally, make sure that, you highlight in every piece of interaction, in every piece of work that you did with them, you highlight your key results and accomplishments, as well as the strong skills and attributes that helped you achieve those outcomes, right? And because this is where the recommendation can be strong, by clearly sort of putting up a correlation between your skills and attributes and the results that you achieved, and the potential that they see in you for the future, right? Remember, a letter of recommendation is useful only if it complements your statement of purpose. It obviously need not say everything that is there on your CV or your statement of purpose, but it definitely needs to complement it. So it's always a good idea to prepare a draft that, does justice in that regard. Well, that sort of wraps up this video. In the next video, I'm going to talk about, drafting an amazing LOR, give you some examples of how to go about drafting the LOR. But for now, I'm going to quickly reiterate the power of mentorship that we believe in. It can really impact multiple aspects of your of success in your career, whether it's at the time of applying to a university, taking interviews with, at the application stage, or seeking a job after your program is complete, right? Our services actually span the entire gamut of this admission journey for you. We can help you prepare for standardized tests, craft impactful essays, letters of recommendations, and also succeed in the next subsequent round of personal interviews or video assessments, as might be the case. Well, that is my time. My name is Anand Venkatesan. I'm signing off here. And on this note, I want to wish all of you guys the very best of luck in your, future endeavors. Don't hesitate to click on the link in the description. Do give me any suggestions for future videos. And if you have any questions, do add comments to this video. Goes without saying, do like, share, and subscribe if you thought this video was useful for you. Thank you and have a great day.